It is 6 p.m. and we're going to get the City of Iowa City formal meeting started. I want to welcome everyone to your City Hall, and it is November 4th, 2024. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Alter.
Here.
Burgess.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Harmson.
Here.
Moe.
Here.
Saleh.
Yeah.
Teague.
Here. All right. Well, welcome again. We do have two proclamations. We're going to start with item number 2. 2A is CRPS Awareness Month and Color the World Orange Day.
Yeah.
Whereas complex regional pain syndrome, also known as reflex sympathetic dystrophy, is a nerve disorder that causes chronic pain. And whereas the symptoms of CRPS, RSD, are often described as burning that is out of proportion to the severity of the initial injury and can include swelling and extreme sensitivity to touch. Whereas while CRPS RSD was first identified during the Civil War, it remains a poorly understood condition which has no cure. And whereas the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Strokes and other institutes of the National Institutes of Health support research relating to CRPS, RSD, and whereas members of the CRPS, RSD community will spread awareness in November, and whereas on November 4th, 2024, members of the CRPS RSD community will celebrate the 11th annual Color the World Day to spread awareness of this poorly understood pain disorder. Now, therefore, I, Bruce Teague, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2024 to be CRPS Awareness Month, and do hereby proclaim Monday, November 4th, 2024 as Color the World Orange for CRPS RSD Awareness Day. And to receive this, we do have your entire family with you today, so please come and accept this proclamation. Yes, and you can give some words right there.
Hello, thank you. I'm Iad Hanna, he or they, and thank you, Mayor Teague and the councils and Kelly for organizing this and the proclamation, and then lighting the Public Works building and the stage on the Ped Mall orange for Complex Regional Pain Syndrome Awareness Day. I think this is the whole month is a reminder to me, and I try and wear orange most days, like your awesome burnt orange that you're wearing today, Mayor, because it sparks a conversation. When somebody makes a comment, I say, oh, I wear it for my brother, who is a CRPS warrior, they call them. This is a silent suffering that people go through, and it is a reminder also that everybody is dealing with issues that we don't know about, and some people, it may be present with them all the time, whether it's stress, physical, emotional, mental, and a good reminder to treat each other with kindness and to check on people every once in a while. And when you say, hey, how are you? Pause and give somebody space, because if they want to share, you might learn a lot about them and then maybe do some good, even if you just come away with a little awareness. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Proclamation item number 2B is Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. Whereas Iowa City faces an unprecedented number of households experiencing homelessness and hunger each day, and whereas this proclamation seeks to foster understanding and empathy for those affected by these critical issues and to inspire action and advocacy on behalf of people with food insecurities and who lack a permanent home. Through collaboration, education, and advocacy, we can work towards sustainable solutions that address the root causes of food insecurity and homelessness. And whereas together we can create a more compassionate society that prioritizes the well-being of all its members, ensuring that no one is left behind in the struggle for basic human needs. Realizing that food security and housing stability are essential for a prosperous and healthy community. And whereas the realities of hunger and homelessness affect thousands of adults and children in our community every day, local food pantries have reported almost 57,000 visits and deliveries over the past year, along with nearly 34,000 nights of shelter provided for those experiencing homelessness. And on one of the coldest nights of the year, 24 of our neighbors slept outside due to not having a home. And whereas food insecurity and hunger stems from a lack of financial security and the high cost of living, and whereas homelessness persists due to a shortage of accessibility, affordability, and right-sized housing with and without supports. And whereas numerous organizations in Iowa City are dedicated to supporting individuals experiencing poverty and homelessness, and whereas while we have made significant strides in addressing hunger and homelessness through collaborative community efforts, we must continue to develop resources that meet the needs of individuals with hope, dignity, and opportunity. Now, therefore, I, Bruce Teague, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby proclaim the November 17th through the 23rd, 2024, be National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week in Iowa City, and urge all residents to recognize the vital roles we each play in making a difference in the lives of adults and children who experience hunger and homelessness in our community. And to accept this proclamations are members of the local Homeless Coordinating Board. We have a few people with us. We have Jeff, Abby, Haley, Sarah, and Catherine. And so we welcome all of you that are present to come on up and receive this proclamation.
I'm down here. Hi, everybody. I'm Haley Franzen. My pronouns are she and they, and I'm an Iowa City resident. I've been working for the last 6 years in homelessness services in our community alongside the local Homeless Coordinating Board. Currently, I work nationally with runaway and homeless youth program providers across the country. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about youth homelessness in our community. Since January 1st, 2024, 124 local youth and young adults ages 12 to 21 have experienced unaccompanied homelessness and reached out for homelessness services at United Action for Youth. While this number may be jarring, it's important to note that this number is also underrepresentative of the total number of youth experiencing unaccompanied homelessness in our area. When youth and young adults are experiencing homelessness, they tend to hide in plain sight. While some may reside in encampments or vehicles night to night, many hop between homes of friends, relatives, mentors, and acquaintances to stay overnight while maintaining their personal goals, like attending high school, working an extra job, or supporting siblings. For this reason, their experience may go unreported or underreported, and they may not know about intervention resources they have available to them. Unaccompanied youth and young adults are at highest risk for human trafficking, including labor and sex trafficking and exploitation, domestic violence, early involvement with drugs and alcohol, interruptions to education, and lack of health care. It's also notable that Black youth and those identifying within the LGBTQIA2S+ community are among those experiencing homelessness most frequently here locally. Shining a light on this issue through a city proclamation helps lift up silent voices and promote conversations about funding for support services in this community. When thinking about hunger and homelessness locally, I encourage you to think about youth who do not have safe spaces to go and how we can increase access to those spaces and supportive adults who can help keep them connected to housing and hunger interventions. To learn more about what our community can do, I'd urge you to visit National Runaway Safe Line at 1-800-runaway.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Jeff Kellbach, I'm an aging specialist with Johnson County Social Services. We extend our heartfelt thanks to the City of Iowa City for this proclamation, which underscores experiences of our most vulnerable community members facing hunger and homelessness. We also appreciate the ongoing financial contributions from the council to local organizations that provide essential supports to those in need. The affordable housing crisis is a pressing reality. While the city has made significant strides in addressing this issue, much work remains. We must continue to increase the availability of affordable housing, expand rental assistance programs, and advocate for enhanced tax credits. Hunger is often an invisible issue, one we must not overlook. Maslow's hierarchy of needs teaches us that without meeting basic necessities, we cannot unlock our potential for a brighter future. We must remain committed to ensuring that no child goes to bed hungry and that no adult struggles to access affordable food. National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week offers us a valuable opportunity for reflection, awareness, and action. The local Homeless Coordinating Board urges the city's citizens of Iowa City to lend their time, skills, and resources to local organizations dedicated to serving individuals experiencing hunger and homelessness. Together, we must unite as a community to confront these significant challenges. No one should be left behind. Thank you.
Yes, great, thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Davis. I'm with the Domestic Violence Intervention Program, as well as the local Homeless Coordinating Board. We sincerely appreciate the City of Iowa City for shining a spotlight on the critical issues of hunger and homelessness within our community. Our gratitude also extends to the Iowa City City Council for their ongoing financial support for these vital initiatives each year. However, we recognize our work is far from complete. As food insecurity and homelessness continue to rise in our community, the local Homeless Coordinating Board feels a profound responsibility to advocate for the well-being and security of our citizens. In a prosperous community like Iowa City, our goal should be to prevent anyone going to bed hungry or lacking a safe place to call home. We must come together as a community to address these urgent challenges. This week serves as a reminder of our collective duty to support those in need, raise awareness, and foster compassion. Together, we can work towards a future where every individual has access to food, housing, and the dignity they deserve. Let us be inspired to take action and ensure that everyone in Iowa City can thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thanks to all three of you for your work. All right, we are going to move on to our consent agenda, which is items 3 through 7. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dunn, seconded by the loudest over here, Mayor Pro Tem Salah. All right, and anyone from the public like to address any topic that is on our consent agenda, which is items 3 through 7? Seeing no one in person, council discussion. Roll call, please.
Teague,
Yes?
Alter,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Moe,
Yes.
Salah.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 8 is community comment. This is an opportunity for the public to come and talk about any item that is not on our agenda. I wanted to see the raising of hands of anyone that would like to speak on any item that is not on our agenda. Seeing no one in the room, we're going to close that opportunity for that comment period. All right, we're going to move on to planning and zoning matters, which is 9. 9A, a zoning code amendment, tobacco sales-oriented retail uses. Ordinance amending Title 14 entitled Zoning Code to address tobacco sales-oriented retail uses. This is first consideration. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so moved by Mo, seconded by Salah, and we're going to invite our city attorney to start us off.
Thank you, Mayor. As the council is aware, this is our first reading of this ordinance. So we're back to the original version, which includes 90 days of preservation of legacy rights if there is a cessation of use of tobacco sales. Otherwise, this has been the same ordinance that council has considered twice previously, so I'd be happy to try to answer any questions if you have, but otherwise I don't have anything else to add.
No questions. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. If you're in person, please raise your hand as well. Yes, please come. I'm going to invite you to the mic. And there's a sign-in sheet here at the desk, which I'm going to ask you to fill out.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you'll be allowed 3 minutes to comment. And I also want to just make mention that when I do open up public comment throughout the rest of the meeting, council cannot engage in discussion or debate until the appropriate time for council discussion. However, once the commenter has left the podium, council may ask staff to respond to a concern or question posed by the public or to follow up with the speaker. Welcome. You'll be given 3 minutes. Please state your name and city you're from.
My name is Aban Baral. I'm from Coralville. I live in Johnson County, Iowa. I've been an Iowa resident for about 17 years. I am myself a small business owner and a retailer, operator, owner of the small business. I do a lot of small business development myself. I was in particular looking into one property which has an address of 955 Mormon Track Boulevard, Iowa City, 52246. This property is a former come-and-go gas station, and I was trying to redevelop that as a site that would sell more varieties of gasoline, the higher blend in gasoline products, E15, biodiesel, E85, and 2 more regular and premium gasoline. One of the broker came in contact with me last week or so talking about this property, and I reached the city through broker. The city said at this time there is a moratorium in place for tobacco license, so this cannot be done. So I just wanted to make sure that if this law would apply or this ordinance will apply for the existing gas station property, which is not in operation right now. I believe Come and Go left this property in about a year ago, and just wanted to make sure that how this law or this ordinance will come to play with the existing site. I had seen like the proposal, there are 4 proposals I saw in city ordinance. One of them was if this would not be a primary tobacco business, which it is not. It may not be 10 to 15% of the tobacco sales out of all other sales, or even less than that. Trying to redevelop it more as a gas station convenience store that sells convenience item inside and outside, as I said, more varieties of gas, and with more focus on the higher blend products, which has been supported by State of Iowa Ethanol Board, which has been supported by USDA Higher Blend Infrastructure Program. I have done those kinds of work in Cedar Rapids and Muscatine recently in some of my sites. I have completely remodeled them with more higher blend infrastructures. So just wanted to know if I can pursue with this project down the road with a convenience store gas station. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one in person or online, we're going to move on to council discussion.
So one of the things that we discussed at the prior meeting was the potential to collapse this item. So I'm interested in hearing what council thinks about collapsing from the first vote to the second. So there'd be still another vote just to get things done faster, since we've had 5 or 6 meetings on this one.
Yeah. I think we can't, I wouldn't be opposed to collapsing, but I think maybe we would just collapse it at the second reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's I think it's worthy of having that public discussion ahead of time because people have been anticipating this on our agenda for a couple of months now. But I appreciate that.
I guess, Mayor, I would just ask that our staff follow up with the speaker, which,
Yeah, I've asked Mr. Lehman to gather his contact information, and I would be happy to follow up.
excellent, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Hearing no other comments, roll call, please.
Alter,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Moe,
Yes.
Saleh,
Yes.
Teague.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. We're on to item 9B, zoning code amendment, redemption centers. Ordinance amending Title 14 zoning code to allow redemption centers in commercial and industrial zones. This is a second consideration, and staff is requesting expedited action.
I move that the rule requiring that ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended, that the second consideration and vote be waived, and that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Moved by Dunn,
Second?
seconded by Burgess. And anyone from the public like to address this topic? Seeing no one in person or online, council discussion? Roll call, please.
Burgess,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Moe,
Yes.
Saleh,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Alter.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to pass and adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dunn. I'm going to give it to Alter here to my left. Roll call, please.
Dunn,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Moe,
Yes.
Saleh,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Alter,
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. We're going to go to our regular agenda, which is item number 10. 10A is going to be Fire Station 1 and City Hall third floor renovation project. Resolution approving plans, project manual, and estimate of costs for the construction of the Fire Station 1 and City Hall third floor renovation project. Establishing amount of bid security to accompany each bid, directing city clerk to post notice to bidders, and fixing time and place for receipt of bids. I'm going to open the public hearing. And welcome, Michelle. That was louder than I thought. It was tied up in this.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Michelle Riedinger, Senior Facilities Design and Construction Manager with the Engineering Division.
Welcome.
Here to summarize the Fire Station 1 and City Hall third floor renovation project. A little bit of background. So this originally started as kind of 2 separate design projects on slightly different design periods. However, as we got kind of towards the end of design, the construction was going to kind of line up similarly, and given some of the site constraints, the fact that we don't have a large laydown area, the decision was made to bid these together, even though they'll be coming out of 2 different CIP budgets. So just a little background. I believe you guys are kind of familiar with the third floor of this City Hall building, so that'll be both engineering and equity and human rights. And then the second floor of the fire station, including their bedrooms and their current bathrooms. So just kind of an overview on the Fire Station 1 scope. We are tearing down kind of the partial height partitions and creating 8 bedrooms, replacing the gendered multi-use bathrooms with 3.5 single-use restrooms. We're creating kind of a wellness mother's room for, either nursing mothers, or if you just need to take a step away, upgrading the fire alarm and the alerting system to be kind of compatible with the current upgraded alerting system throughout the rest of the station. And we're replacing the flooring and the lights, including replacement of the workout room floor, even though we aren't doing any other work in there, because that's going to be their prime access, including that as well, so we don't tear up that floor and leave it in poor condition. for the third floor renovation here in City Hall, we're adding 4 offices in the engineering division. We're replacing carpet and lights to match all the other floors of City Hall. So various floors have gone through renovations over the past 10 or so years, and engineering has not. So have some aging carpet and whatnot, as well as some fire alarm upgrades. Tying it into the strategic plan, this is kind of investing in our current facilities to kind of improve some of our current operational challenges given limited space, as well as we're replacing all the light fixtures with LED fixtures, and especially the fire station works to kind of promote that internal equity and inclusive environment. So for temporary locations, to expedite construction, we're moving out of these spaces. So fire station, those firefighters will move their beds down to their training room. So we will still have rigs located at Fire Station 1, and then they'll be utilizing the workout room showers while that bathroom scope is underway. For third floor, equity and human rights will be on the upper level of Robert A. Lee Community Rec Center, and Public Works and Engineering will take up several rooms in Senior Center. And as we get closer to that, we'll make sure that it's well known where those, especially equity and human rights, is located so that the public can still seek those services. On the note of costs, the overall estimated construction cost is about $900,000, split between Fire Station 1 of about $603,000 and City Hall third floor $297,000. The schedule, so this will ideally likely begin the bidding period. We'll open bids November or December 19th. We anticipate awarding the contract at the January 7th council meeting, and we're anticipating construction roughly January through July of 2025. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Can you remind me, for the fire station, what's the current bed count?
I believe we have I do have that current floor plan, I believe.
And I should remember it, I just don't.
We may have 10 right now, but I believe 8 was sufficient.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad that they'll have their own spaces.
Mhm.
Yeah, not having to throw something over the wall.
Yeah. Here are no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please raise your hand. If you're online, raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one in person or online, I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Moe, seconded by Burgess. Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Harmson?
Yes.
Moe?
Yes.
Salah?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. We are on to item number 10B, which is the Kratom Ban ordinance amending Title 6 entitled Public Health and Safety to create a new Chapter 11 entitled Kratom to prohibit its sale and distribution. And this is a motion for pass and adopt. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved, Harmson.
Second, Moe.
All right. And anyone from the public like to address this topic, please welcome. And there is a sign-in sheet at this, unless you got a sticker from the back. Great. Welcome. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak.
Excuse me a moment. I'll be reading a statement by someone else.
Great.
My name is Fennick. Right now I'm going to read a statement first by Court Williams. My name is Court Williams, and I wanted to say something about how Kratom has improved my quality of life. I've held a full-time job for 10 years and have been promoted, which is something I didn't think was possible for me at one time. I know countless others who can say the same across all walks of life and occupying all levels of the socioeconomic hierarchy. You might ask yourself then why more people haven't spoken up about the Kratom ban issue. I think there are a few reasons. Some might be afraid of a social stigma. others who struggle with anxiety in public speaking situations. Still others who occupy a humbler socioeconomic status may feel that people won't listen to their voices. All of these reasons are true for me to some degree, plus work schedule conflicts. So on behalf of all of those who for whatever reason can't be here today, I'm asking you not to take away this resource away from our community. That's the quality of life argument, and it's an important one. But there is another argument that is perhaps even more vital, the harm reduction argument. Some people use Kratom to quit illegal street drugs. In a world where street drugs get more dangerous every day, it is no exaggeration to say that lives may depend on this decision. So for all these reasons, I'd ask you to reconsider the Kratom ban on my own behalf and on behalf of those who could not be here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
For myself, I would like to say I have spoken before and mentioned very similar things as Court here. I think also it needs to be recognized that this is not a decision that would affect just our community. Because Kratom is something many aren't very aware of, instead of doing research and trying to look at what options there may be for regulation and public resource, places consider just banning. And they will use places that ban as a reason for themselves to do so. Meaning if this is a decision that is made without being sure if it is necessary to ban or if this is something that should be regulated instead, you could be affecting other communities, other people's access, and other people's quality of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name and city you're from.
Andrea Weber, Solon, Iowa. All right, so hello everyone, my name is Andrea Weber. I'm an addiction physician here in Iowa, and I service the Iowa City community. I'm also the board chair for the Iowa Harm Reduction Coalition, which is a nonprofit group here really focused on trying to provide health care and equity for people who use drugs. I'm here to speak against the proposed ban for the Kratom in the community. I'm aware that the council and the community has had a lot of discussion about this, and I really appreciate it because I think historically this would have been a really quick, easy decision without people coming forward and really putting some thought at all aspects of what this would entail. I'm a student of historical drug policy, and unfortunately over about a century of U.S. policy says that when we ban a substance that already has a demand, that tends to lead to more harm compared to having access to a legal, well-regulated drug supply. I spend a lot of time in my life talking to people who use drugs, specifically people who have opioid use disorder, which is similar to the previous speaker, people who don't necessarily always get a voice at the table. Based on recent data, Iowa has had an increase in our overdose-related deaths relative to the national trend, which actually saw a decrease. Many people who have an opioid use disorder have used Kratom as a way to move away from a dangerous poison drug supply as a way to mitigate symptom, and I've really done so oftentimes with success and sometimes potentially just as a bridge until they can come see me in a clinical setting. A lot of our Iowa laws through a lens of harm reduction are not accessible for people with substance use disorders. And then getting people to medical treatment still is a barrier. We try more and more to get people to come in to see us instead of utilizing unregulated drug supplies, but it's really hard to do so for people. I'm not going to stand here and say that there's no harm to Kratom, because truly there's harm to everything that we utilize in medicine, whether it's a regulated substance or a medication or a prescription. So that just cannot be said, unfortunately. I think what could be really gained is a more robust, well-informed public health policy around Kratom. It's a relatively unknown substance, and it requires much more education around what is known about its benefits and its risks. I see very few patients who actually come to me because of Kratom difficulties. Of the people that I've seen, most of them started using Kratom because they were unaware of what it did. They didn't know that they would develop an opioid-like tolerance to it. They didn't realize that their use might progress over the course of years. Any adolescent that's been exposed to it has oftentimes been because their parent bought it for them thinking it was something like creatine or some sort of natural performance enhancer. So just a ton of misinformation that really a good public health campaign could remedy pretty quickly. In addition to a lot of education, other types of regulation, whether it's just minimum age of purchase, density outlet density control, as well as just kind of forced labeling around these products as to the potential risks, I think would be a better path forward. with that, I appreciate your consideration of my comments and really appreciate it.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name and city you're from.
Hi, my name is Chantal Rasmus. I am from Washington, Iowa, but I practice as a psychiatrist at the Abbey Community Mental Health Center on the east side of town. I'm also a member of the Iowa Harm Reduction Coalition Board of Directors and have been since 2021. I'm here tonight to express my concerns regarding the potential Kratom ban. As a psychiatrist, the principle I hold above all others is autonomy. As a harm reductionist, I believe in meeting people where they're at. I don't believe that drugs are inherently bad, and I don't believe people who use drugs are inherently bad. I'd like to use the rest of my time, limited time, to speak on behalf of people who use drugs in our community. These are my friends, my family, and my patients. These are people I love and I deeply care about. I spoke recently with a patient of mine who gave me permission to talk about our conversation tonight. I've known this person for years, and I've had the privilege of being their physician and watching them go through their own recovery. And so it is someone that I trust very much, and she knows the community very well. When I asked her about the Kratom ban and what she thought would happen, she simply said people will die. It's widely used in our community as a means of harm reduction, and a ban would place another limit on a safer alternative for people who are working on their own recovery. In the last couple of years, I've seen a change in the Iowa City community. There's been an embrace of harm reduction practices. We've seen a huge increase in the use of Narcan and medication for treatment of substance use disorders. Iowa City has the community, or as a community, has the capacity to influence change outside of Johnson County. Tonight, I'm asking you to consider regulation in place of a ban on Kratom. I'm asking you to continue to show up for people who use drugs, just as you have for the last couple of years. I'm asking you to embrace harm reduction practices and to think about your friends and family who may use drugs. I'm asking that you consider my patient who is alive today because of harm reduction practices. By regulating Kratom use and not banning Kratom, Iowa City sets an example for the rest of Iowa. That example can be set with banning, or it can be done with regulation. Both of those options make statements. By regulating, Iowa City loudly states that we care about our neighbors who are using drugs, who also fall into another group addressed tonight, those experiencing homelessness and hunger. It states we have learned from our past that bans are not effective. It states that we value education about substances over dangerous anti-drug rhetoric. It makes a statement that the lives of people who use drugs are important. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address this topic? Welcome. Please state your name and city you're from.
My name is Carolyn Scherf Ryan, and I'm from Iowa City.
Great. Welcome.
First, I wrote a statement which sounds feistier than it should. I want to premise by saying that I moved back to Iowa City in part because of our progressive governments, and I respect all of you, and I understand that this ban is really well-intentioned, but the impact has been shared is not, I think, what you want it to be. If Iowa City can ban Kratom sales, why not also ban the sale of tampons, just to be on the safe side until we know more about the effects of all the PFAs and heavy metals they may be laced with? Councilman Harmson mentioned the importance of the FDA and the Mayo Clinic's comments on Kratom. With heavy metals in tampons, as well as Kratom, there is scientific uncertainty about their toxicological risks. There are federal regulations still underway, and both have health advisories issued by Mayo and a major federal agency. So why ban Kratom for these reasons and not tampon sales? Aren't they both potential threats to public health, safety, and welfare? I think that this is a political possibility because there's no political risk in government overreach when it's reaching to punch down at people who are considered deviant and who use weird and bad substances, which are words that have been used to describe Kratom and its users. It would really be something else if we tried to punch up at big companies, ban the sale of tampons at Procter & Gamble until we know for absolute certain that the heavy metals that they may contain are risk-free. But What really bothers me the most about this proposed Kratom ban is the bigger context that it ignores. The opiate epidemic, and specifically Iowa's refusal to release $47.5 million in OxyContin settlements to help fund people's access to treatment, and Iowa being one of only 5 states where fentanyl test strips are considered paraphernalia. In conclusion, there are so few options for people who use drugs in Iowa. And this Kratom ban is just one more way to send people at risk for overdose the message that your government doesn't care if you live or die. And I know, because I trust many of you who have gotten to meet, that that's not the message that you want to send. So I hope that you will not pass this ban. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else in the public like to address this topic? See no one online or in person. Council discussion.
I don't trust the American Kratom Association, and I don't trust the Global Kratom Alliance, or have reason to trust necessarily or implicitly the producers or inherently the sellers of Kratom in our community and across the country and across the world. But I do trust the people in this room tonight. And when I think about this discussion, and I think about the discussion that happened last week, or not last week, or at our last meeting, comparing risk of, other substances that are regulated across the United States, particularly in our state, like alcohol, or in many of our neighboring states, marijuana. I'm hard-pressed at this point to be supportive of a ban. I would, again, reiterate, I think a good, potentially middle ground for us would be to have a streamlined regulatory framework that goes along with our tobacco policies, so distance, permitting, all encompassing in the same stuff, I think what's mentioned tonight, as well as that discussion of comparative risk, is very persuasive, especially if we think about things like marijuana. Because I think, just wagering a guess, a good chunk of us up here are probably pro-legalizing marijuana. I am. And I don't see how I can make that mesh at this time with the information that we have in front of us. So I would really ask if we could have one more person go for no.
I probably spoke more the first meeting, so sorry if I'll repeat some of the things I said, just because I didn't say them again at our second meeting. I agree that regulating this like tobacco or alcohol would be great in that it would be the right way to keep it out of the hands of children. It would also be, or at least prevent that, and it would also be a really great way to make sure that what people are buying is actually what it's sold to be. What we know is this thing is not regulated. You don't know the potency of it. You don't know what's mixed with it. You're not sure exactly what's in it. And so you don't know what it is. And I would like to say that we had the discussion about regulating it like tobacco and like alcohol, which I would love to do that, but that needs to come from the state. Like, that was pretty clear that the state needs to do that. And it would be my goal that we could get the state to do that. I think that that is the responsible way to do that. I know that one of the speakers said that, Kratom users are slandered, and I certainly do not think that Kratom users are weird or deviant. If you're searching for something to do harm reduction, I don't want to take that away. However, we do have an email from our public health expert that says this is not harm reduction. It is not harm reduction to take a substance that you don't know what it is. You don't know whether it's the pure version or the 4X version or when it's laced with something, and substitute for something that is bad. Harm reduction means taking something that is bad and finding something else that's less bad and moving away from the harm. This could potentially be worse if you get the wrong mix, the wrong kind, the wrong type. And so I'm going to trust our public health expert who wrote in to say that this is not harm reduction, and that we need to move our state towards a place where we can have Kratom that's available for people after they show an ID and they know what's actually in the material that they're purchasing. I guess I hope that the state is paying attention. I'm doing my best to talk to our state legislators to say, pay attention, make this. And I said very publicly at the last meeting that I would be very happy to revisit this ban if our state does what they need to do to regulate age and safety of this drug. I'm happy to go that direction. I also would not support this if this was going to penalize users. This is penalizing the sellers, not the users. I wouldn't support that at all, because I understand that there are people who are trying to find something. But because we don't know what's in this material, we do not know which version of it you're buying, where it's coming from, what its potency is, whether it's a synthetic or a natural, and whether or not it's been adulterated. That's really dangerous. So I will continue to vote yes to this ban.
Can
we go next?
I completely concur with you on that the state should regulate it. They should also release the $47.5 million to combat the opioid addiction and crisis. I will push back a little. I would wager that the people who use Kratom know where to get the Kratom that works for them, as opposed to ordering it online where they actually really don't know whether they have someone who is providing them with consistent, wholesale or what have you. So I'm just going to push back on that. The people who use this product know where there's good and where there's bad, more so than probably Susan Valletta, who doesn't use it. So, I am asking my fellow counselors to listen to the professionals in the room representing Iowa Harm Reduction. At one point or another, we have all stated, to varying degrees, our own ignorance about Kratom. But this ignorance about Kratom has been used to push the ban forward. Please consider the potential impacts. The more that I hear, the more that I understand that this is an equity issue. It is absolutely about accessibility to, yes, harm mitigation. Is it the best? Is it the best way to reduce harm? Perhaps not, in our view, but it may be what there is available, and it is helping. It may also, and likely is, used for recreational purposes, as a lot of things are. We know that alcohol kills. We know that tobacco kills. We don't know about Kratom, other than we've actually had a significant amount of people come out, the folks from outside the area notwithstanding, to say that it has helped them. I believe it is not in our purview as city council to lay down health policy. I just think it's overreaching. I don't think this ever should have come before us. I don't think it would have registered on our radars. So I am asking for someone to reconsider their vote. And, let's continue to push on the state to regulate it. But this just shouldn't have come before us.
So I appreciate all of that, and I also want to say thank you to Drs. Weber, and I'm sorry I missed. Thank you for your work you do in this area. This is very important work, and it's much appreciated. And I appreciate you coming forward and speaking on this topic tonight. I do want to kind of reiterate what Councilor Moe said, that, the regulation would be great, but that has to come from the state level. That's actually not something that we could effectively do as a city. So that part of the puzzle, it's kind of like partially agree, partially not agree. I do also want to say for those, because we've been here in this discussion since the very beginning, and one of the things I do appreciate about this city, and somebody else had mentioned this is a place that doesn't demonize people who have addictions, and that actually has not been a part of this conversation at all. by anybody that I've heard either call in, email us, or from up here on the council dais. So it has all been focused on the public health aspects and with the concern for anybody using a substance, not a looking down on for any substance, kratom or any other thing. And I don't think in my time on council I've heard anybody that's been on this dais say anything disparaging about people who are dealing with addictions. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that hasn't been a part of the conversation that's happened in here. I can't speak to what people are saying, maybe somewhere else. One of the things that it's still my concern, and this actually is something that also I think it was Dr. Weber who mentioned about the problems with misinformation, misunderstandings, and the problems with seeing teenagers who come forward that have gotten onto this, maybe even accidentally because their parents didn't understand that this was a substance that could be leading to addiction. And so, we parents, we all try and do the best we can, and sometimes, we make an honest mistake. And so I feel for those people, absolutely. But then the other concern that I had stated with this is the prevalence of the advertising and the creation of new markets. That's why you have advertising. And when you go by and see all those signs in gas stations, on vape shops and things like that, advertising it as if it was a safe, regulated product like, an herbal supplement like, something somebody might take as from GNC or something like that, or as if it was, regulated like tobacco or alcohol, when indeed there's no regulation, there's not even an age limit currently on it. And so for those reasons, I still think there is public health value in not allowing the sale of this, which would also not allow the marketing of this in our community, because if you can't sell it, you wouldn't have any reason to market for it. So I would still be supporting this, but I think your comments are well taken, and should there be some sort of regulation at the state that supersedes us, I think that, and have it actually be more regulated, I would be changing my mind on this. So.
I guess I'll just address the final two counselors who haven't said, and the mayor who haven't said yet how they'll vote. But I think we all know there's no shame in learning more and changing our position on something. And it is hard to imagine something as compelling as from the speakers who we've had the last two meetings, as far as the benefits of a substance that we are not equipped to regulate. I have heard, and I very much appreciate that there are remaining concerns, but I think the issue really is, what is the city of Iowa City's purview in enforcement relating to the sale of this sort of unknown, as far as we are concerned, substance? And I'll just make the fiscal argument. How are we going to pay for the enforcement? Who is going to be making the checks in the vape shops and the convenience stores? And what are those individuals going to be looking for? What are they going to be doing? And how, I just don't understand creating an additional regulatory environment for something that is at best uncertain. So I really hope that we can hear from those who have both clinical and direct experience in the context of the larger world and country, where we know that there have been legislative opportunities for regulation that could come from those who are more equipped than we are. And I hope that in what will be the worst budget year in certainly our history, that we don't just sign up for, something that is really, truly unnecessary and what I believe is a significant overreach in our authority.
I'd like to speak to a couple of comments that have been made that I think are a little bit concerning. The first one is that I don't really understand why we'd have to wait for the state. So if Councilor Moe or Councilor Harmson could if you could elucidate why we would have to wait for the state, or why you think we should.
For regulations? is that what
Yeah,
you're
for
referring to?
regulations.
So
why?
I think actually, this would actually be what Councilor Burgess was just talking about, to a factor of degrees and expense. And we'd have to hire new people. We'd be talking about like testing. Yeah, I mean, I think that's just, I don't even know how that you begin to go about.
So why wouldn't, like, if we're doing like streamlined age checks, like under my theoretical proposal that we, streamline things with our tobacco legislation, why would it not happen at the same time as we're doing checks for tobacco age sales? Why would it not happen at the exact same moment? Why wouldn't we do that? Because that seems like a very efficient use of taxpayer dollars.
I think at the April 24th and May 7th meetings, we talked about the way that the state pays us to do those checks. And because they're regulated differently, that's not an option for us. We have to pay the underage person to go attempt to purchase. And also the actual sort of, I don't want to call it sting operation, but the effort to sort of do the age check was something that in those meetings we determined wasn't feasible without state supports. And I think that the testing for purity was something which is, to me, one thing that I find very concerning is when I did Kratom trading with Community Family Resources. It was offered in September, where we learned about these adulterated forms and this synthetic forms. It's incredibly difficult to test them. And so we need a federal or state capacities to actually test these.
Do we currently test tobacco products?
Well, tobacco is different because we're testing, or we're looking to see if someone is taking a highly regulated product, tobacco, which we know exactly is in it. We know it's bad for you, but we tell people it's bad for you and let people make their choices. But we know what's in it.
How
And we
many
know
more
that it's
people
tightly
die from
regulated.
tobacco?
And all we're checking for is to see that they're not selling it to children. And so nobody has to like pull cigarettes apart at the city level and check that and see if it has fentanyl laced in it.
But if the whole argument is about public health, a lot more people die from tobacco than die from kratom.
But it is regulated. I think
It is regulated.
That's the point
so
of it.
there's an acceptable amount of regulated death, is what we're saying.
That's a federal question that's out of our hands.
I mean, but it is a question that we're considering here, is it not?
No, we're not talking about tobacco.
I know we're not talking about tobacco, but we're talking about regulating a substance because of its harm on public health, as tobacco is regulated. It's harm on public health. That's why it's regulated. So I guess like the other thing that was concerning to me is that, we're kind of appealing to we're falling into a fallacy of appeal to authority here when we're talking about Susan Vileta. And I'm not trying to bash her whatsoever, but I want everyone to understand what her role at Johnson County Public Health is and what her education is. Susan is a public health educator that's focused on tobacco cessation and all that jazz. She has a bachelor's degree in secondary education focusing on English, speech, theater, and comms. And when we first talked with her about this issue, she didn't know anything about it. What level of education do you have?
I don't want to go that way.
I only have 2 authorities in this room with any sort of medical experience, and that have only ever come and talked to us about this. I don't think the person who didn't know what we were talking about at the first moment of this conversation is more qualified to talk about the public health impacts than the people that are working with this every day and are fully properly educated. So that really does not sit well with me. Susan is great, not bashing her character or her work or anything like that, but when we're talking about trusting our public health officials, she's not an MD, she's not trained in that way, and these guys are.
You do know that we're also looking at stuff like from the FDA and from Mayo Clinic. You understand that, right?
From Mayo
Absolutely.
Clinic. What about Mayo Clinic? Do you think so?
I got lots of opinions about Mayo Clinic, but
We also, there was a pretty large training opportunity for all of us to participate in, where local addiction specialists talked about this. That's when I made my decision that this stuff, we need state regulation, was during that when public health experts who offered that training to our council presented, and I believe it was City Attorney Goers and I did participate in that. So I appreciate the people who've come today and heard what they had to say, but there's also a lot of, just because they're last at the table doesn't mean that they're the most important to me. So there's a lot of people that weigh into this decision for me, and so.
Yeah, I think like, I just don't like the way that you really represent the, like talked about Susan. She really don't like her researches, her work, whether she, I don't know why we're looking at her background. She been hired at the county because she is qualified. We brought her here for many times for many things because we trust her opinions. And not only that, we also receive some information from Mayo Clinic, from FDA, from all of those. And we are not only listening to her, but we're listening to many, many other opinions that we have received. Anyway, I really don't want to discuss this more. At this point, I'm going to just stuck with my vote, and I will vote for the ban.
This is a very hard conversation to have because at the end of the day, it's the person that is using this product that will have to figure out how to obtain it. What I would say is if the ban goes into effect, what we have is neighboring communities where folks can get it. I do hear the challenge from equity, transportation, that type stuff is a challenge. I'll mention that we have free transit here, although I just mentioned that, and that's not to be disrespectful to, someone's life is being affected by, if this ban goes into effect. One of the hopes that I have is the state will take this on with all of their resources and the robust public health campaign that is needed, for Kratom. There are some legitimate, very legitimate points that my colleagues to my left have absolutely made. I can tell you that I agree with almost all of it, without doubt. And then, certainly, on my right, my colleagues have made some comments as well, and they've made a position to ban it for what I would say some real reasons that I believe is in the public's best interest. Now, with all that being said, I am sitting here and I'm thinking, how do we ensure that this is a part of the legislative priorities in the state of Iowa, right? Because if that is our ultimate goal, how do we make that happen? Certainly, we can add that to our legislative priorities. We'll probably have that discussion in December. Or no, we will already make that prior to that, because then, we finalize that in December to go before the, our legislators in Des Moines. This is just yes, I hear, and I appreciate you all coming. Everybody that's here in person, and even to the ones that have reached out outside of this meeting, I appreciate the conversations there. This is a hard position to be in, but I think what I would, I wonder if there is, and I know this is something that I cringe on when this happens a lot. I would just say when it happens a lot. It happens, and, for good reasons do it happen. I wonder if there's any consideration that we would give to legislative priorities being a part of our December things that we do. And then this is the part that I think people have to think about for a second. Is there would we give consideration to deferring this? And the reason, I will say that a ban, there are real rationale and health concerns for a ban, without a doubt. I heard from people here that talked about, we need legal, well-regulated drug supply, this drug, or maybe I'm misquoting, but there's something about Kratom that just ain't right. And I think Councilor Dunn, your beginning words, I absolutely agree with some of that mistrust and just an awkward feeling about a lot of things surrounding this. I do wonder if people would, and I don't know, it is hard. So, because I can support a ban, and my rationale for supporting a ban would be this presents it will definitely be in the face of our legislators in Des Moines. And I would hope that it would cause them to have a real conversation of how, an action, not just conversations, but activity to address all of the things and the concerns that even people that support regulating it will happen. So I don't know. I guess I'll bring it to. I'll just say I'll ask a question and just see what people's thoughts are if we were just to defer this. And most people want a date, and I would just say defer it indefinitely for now. I just wanted to get a reaction.
Support that?
Yeah.
I would defer.
I have no desire to defer.
I know. I think I've spoken to a few of you about this idea.
If I'm in the minority, I'm in the minority.
In that I feel like we should do something. There are people who use this who are at huge risk of getting something that's not what they think it is. This is a real risk in our community, and that it's something that's far more potent than they think, or it has something else in it. And so we need to do something. And if that means temporarily shifting towards working on the state, then I would support that.
You mean like deferring it, but actively work about it?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good to me.
And I also want to say, and please, I don't know if my colleagues up here absolutely love everybody in this community, and whether or left or right is kind of interesting today. The words that have been spoken has nothing to do against the person, the users. We acknowledge that this has been helpful because we heard those words coming from people. But we also know that there is something here that needs to be regulated, and there needs to be a lot of education after it's regulated.
I would actually I do want to say, regardless of what happens, one thing that, if I can find it, that Susan Valletta did say that I meant to bring up earlier, if I can find it, was just the absolute centrality and importance of outreach so that people know what other things are available, in terms of, she says, important to couple it with outreach about evidence-based treatment and support available in Johnson County. And so I just wanted to make that mention.
Yes.
But, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know what kind of traction the city of Iowa City is going to get with the state in terms of regulating kratom. They're also, you know, they want to reduce more property taxes.
If there's a ban, we
But-
then we know potentially.
Yeah, they could come back and be like, no, which is
Absolutely.
fine, but I
State's gonna
don't.
agree with us?
But,
Well-
no, they would do it to switch. But I don't put a lot of traction in that. But if it defers it so that people can still have access to it, I'm fine with that. But I just, and I recognize bans can be reversed as well. But based on there are unknowns as well as knowns, I'm absolutely, to my counselors who, you know, I am hearing your perspectives, and there is something there, and yet I'm like, oh, this is not COVID. We knew we had to have masking, and that was something that had to be an intervention at a health, on a public safety level, right? I do not think that this rises to that level. I think it's preemptive. I think it's overreach. I've already said that a million times, so my apologies. But I wanted to say I respect what you are saying.
For sure.
But I think until we know more, we should not ban. So if deferral is the way that we could get to a majority of being comfortable with this, I'm all in favor of it. And we can actively work towards it. We have a lot of agenda priorities, so.
Well, and then,
I
you
think
know.
I'm arguing against myself.
No.
I
No.
apologize.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're having this conversation.
Are
Yeah,
you making
and-
that motion then, Mayor?
I can't believe we're having this conversation. I agree with that, and I also agree that this is overreach. But I would back up and say that if we, you know, if there is something that we, you know, believe needs critical attention and the harm that it could have is detrimental, then I don't mind overreaching.
I just don't think that it has risen to a level where this necessitates us intervening. It was not on anybody's radar.
I understand that. Yeah.
And I'm not even going to say perhaps it should be to the extent of what our potential reaction is.
We do know that this has happened across the nation. It's not just
No, but I
Iowa
think
City that is
I think that-
regulated and considering bans
No,
on
absolutely.
this one item.
True.
I mean, so, and there's not other, if we're talking about bans, this is probably the only thing in our entire nation that I can think of in this moment that is being considered.
I just also want to remind us that we don't have a recommendation from staff on this. And to me, that is very influential. That I think this came to us from Councilor Dunn and his interest and, you know, our willingness to go along with that. And he's learned more and changed his position on it. But this is not something where we have those who work for us on behalf of the city saying, yes, this is something you need to do, or even no, it's not, right? Like they're just staying out of it. It's a political decision at this point, which suggests to me that, I'm in favor of deferral, much like Councilor Alter, if that means we're not going to implement the ban tonight.
So I guess I would just request that one of my colleagues make that motion and
I
second.
will move for deferral.
Second. Okay.
Okay. Moved by Mo, seconded by Alter.
And indefinitely.
Indefinitely. Roll call, please.
Mo?
I vote yes to deferral.
Right. Sala?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Harmson?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. Thanks to everybody that came out for this. And thanks to everybody that's been tuning in and reaching out to council on this item.
Still need a motion to accept correspondence on this item, Mayor.
Great.
No move.
Yep. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, we're on to item number 10C. Fiscal Year 24 Annual Action Plan Amendment Number 1, Resolution approving substantial amendment number 1 to Iowa City's Fiscal Year 2024 Annual Action Plan. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
Move.
Second?
Moved by Sala, seconded by Burgess. And we're going to welcome Erica.
Hello, Erica Kubley with Neighborhood Services. So we have a couple revisions to our FY24 annual action plan that trigger a substantial amendment. I'm just going to run through why we have the funding and what we plan to do with it. So first, we received a loan payoff recently for a prior year project that is referred to as program income. This funding is subject to our yearly spending deadlines established by HUD, so we're looking to reprogram those funds as quickly as we can. We're proposing to shift $300,000 received through the program income to the city's down payment assistance program. The city has been allocated a total of $430,000 in FY22 and FY24 CDBG or home funds to offer down payment assistance to income eligible home buyers in partnership with Green State and Hills Bank. That's a program that we administer internally. To date, 70% of that funding has been expended to assist 14 buyers. We have added a dedicated part-time staff member to administer this program, and we've had strong demand, so funds have been spent more quickly than we anticipated. The additional funding will assist up to 12 home buyers and allow the program to operate continually. Requests for assistance increase in the spring home buying season, which ideally will help position us to meet the May CDBG spending deadline. The amendment additionally proposes repurposing home funds made available through canceled projects. In FY24, the city awarded $110,000 in home funds to UAY, United Action for Youth, to acquire or rehab at least one rental unit in Iowa City for transitional housing. Due to the complexity of the applicable federal regulations at the units identified and the required time frame, the project was not able to utilize home funding. Fortunately, the project was able to proceed without city federal funds through a partnership formed between UAY and the Housing Fellowship. In FY24, $200,000 in home funds were also awarded to the Housing Fellowship for rental construction on Ronald Street. The funding was provided for the second build on Ronald Street, if you're familiar with that project. Due to the timing of the historic review required for federal funding and the time-sensitive nature of the project's unique partnership with the Iowa City School District, the project was unable to proceed with home funding. Housing Fellowship was able to identify alternative funding sources to continue this effort. Staff proposed to reallocate the $310,000 from the UAY project and the Ronalds project and home funds to the Housing Fellowship to acquire 2 additional rental units. The Housing Fellowship serves as Iowa City's CHODO, Community Housing Development Organization, which signifies that they are a critical partner in the city's home program and that they have a strong capacity and experience in providing quality, affordable housing in Iowa City. If approved, we would submit this to HUD, and then from there, we could administer these projects, or this project. Thank you.
Are those rental units identified by chance?
I believe they have some ideas, but nothing is solidified at this moment.
Okay, thanks.
I guess, what is the time frame if we don't use the funds?
So we have a May 2nd CDBG timeliness deadline. We thought down payment assistance would be the quickest we could reprogram those funds and get them spent out in the community. Home has a 2-year allocation requirement that we're working towards and 4 years to spend, so that's a little less urgent, but this will allow the project to continue probably in the spring rather than waiting for our next whole funding cycle, which would be next fall.
Can I?
Oh, yeah. So I was very interested in our work session topic about how we are considering recategorizing some CBDG and home funds and streamlining in some ways. This might be a good way for me to learn a little better. Is it really the other housing activities that would move out of the CDBG and then economic development, some of them into home and some of them to other places in the budget? Am I understanding the work session correctly? Sorry to merge 2 topics, but this is, for me, helpful.
We have to recognize that we have one counselor that was not a part of that discussion.
Can you say your question again?
Would you prefer that we not have that discussion then?
I think
No,
you
do
need,
you want me to recuse myself again?
no, I think you just have to
It's a question I can
Be
ask.
careful.
You know what? It's a question that I can ask you later. It is a, yeah, this is more for my learning so that I fully understand the implications of our work session, so.
everything is not off the table to discuss, but I think you just
No,
have to make
I-
sure that it's, you know,
Don't
within,
tell me what
within the
happened.
line.
I will streamline the conversation.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for Erica? Hearing none. Thank you. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Kelly, I unplugged it.
Nobody on there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Seeing no one in person or online, council discussion.
I think this is great, you know. The more I just start involving with like all those people who are doing this amazing job in the community by housing people, the need is really great. And I think all this money even is not enough to fulfill the need. So yes, kudos to everyone who work on that.
I'm just appreciative that staff, you know, is, again, creative and looking at, you know, ways to be able to hold on to the money and
Yeah.
to put it back into
Yes.
the community and to do it as quickly as possible. I particularly took note of you saying
Agreed.
that, where you're like,
Yeah.
this is a way to do this so that we can get it into the community quicker. So thank you.
Yeah, agree. Roll call, please.
Sutla?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Mo?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 10D, Shelter House Letter of Support. Resolution authorizing the city manager to sign a letter of support for Shelter House that dedicates project-based vouchers upon the award of a HUD Continuum of Care Build Grant. And we're going to welcome, could I get a motion to approve, please?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sala, seconded by Dunn. And we're going to welcome Tracy.
Thank you, Mayor. Tracy Heishu with Neighbor and Development Services. Rachel Carter was planning to present tonight. She's our housing administrator. She had a family emergency, but I have her notes. And Chrissy Canganelli, the director of Shelter House, is also here if you have any questions. Shelter House was chosen by the Iowa Balanced Estate Continuum of Care to apply for a national grant, COC Builds. Each COC can nominate one entity to apply. Shelter House was nominated, so they intend to apply for $6 million in funds to build at least 36 one-bedroom units with permanent supportive housing for chronically homeless individuals. They are requesting a letter of support from us, from the city, dedicating project-based vouchers for this project if they're awarded the funding. HUD allows us to spend up to 20% of our vouchers on our regular vouchers on project-based vouchers without prior HUD approval. Currently, we administer 60 project-based vouchers in conjunction with Shelter House. They work similar to a regular voucher. The tenant pays 30% of their income to rent, and the housing authority pays the remainder. We see several benefits of providing project-based vouchers to this project. One is just the simple addition of 36 units to our community of affordable housing. The grant requires leverage of project-based vouchers to be awarded. The only way that you make these types of projects sustainable is with consistent rental income. And like I said, it adds 36 units of newly built affordable housing to our community. It also reduces the strain on private market landlords. The client Shelter House intends to serve with this project typically have utilized many other services, including regular vouchers in the community, and have been unable to sustain housing. This project provides permanent supportive services provided by the landlord, Shelter House, and accordingly reduces the strain of other landlords in providing housing to these tenants. One of the most common comments that we get from landlords who are wary of the voucher program is that they are concerned about the tenants needing more supportive services that they are willing or able to provide. By providing appropriate level of support through project-based vouchers, we have fewer landlords with high barrier voucher tenants. Dedicating project-based vouchers to permanent supportive housing follows our Housing First approach and is supported by the current Iowa City Housing Authority Administrative Plan, which you have previously approved. And permanent supportive housing is the most evidence-based method to combat chronic homelessness.
Great. Any questions?
I guess my questions, first, congratulations to the Shelter House of being nominated. This is amazing. And you said how many units they will be? Is this the 36?
36 one-bedroom units.
Yeah. like, I just want to understand something here, of course, the letter to support this is not something, it's something we can do definitely. But I really would like to understand the way this is work, because when we say we're adding more affordable housing in the city, which is like 36 unit will be, and in the same time we take in vouchers from our voucher. Can you tell me how that work? Because there is many people on the waiting list waiting for the vouchers, and they being there for years to the degree that we close the waiting list. And now we're building houses, and why not those become just like a subsidized housing that will charge 30% of the area median income for the people who are going to live there, rather than taking vouchers and just give it to this affordable housing. I don't know if you understand what I'm coming from.
I get your question. If
Yes.
they move to just accepting 30% of someone's income for rent and not.
Yes.
That's like our public housing, but we're also getting money from HUD to pay for capital improvements. We're getting money from HUD for administrative, for project leasing. The project simply won't cash flow unless you have a dedicated source of revenue for that full rent. So you're right, it doesn't increase the number of vouchers in our community, but it does provide, there's some vouchers in our community that we issue, especially for the clients that Shelter House serves, that aren't able to utilize that voucher because they cannot find a landlord who's willing to rent to them.
Okay.
So this provides more flexibility, and it also provides a home for those 36 individuals to go, and other landlords then would just take regular vouchers. So it doesn't increase the number of vouchers available, but it does provide some flexibility within the system and gets folks that typically wouldn't be able to utilize their voucher because they can't find a landlord, they would be able to be housed.
And what about the people who now have voucher and cannot find housing? Can they also use this housing, or this is only for
It's just associated with that property.
With that project? And this is going to be associated to the project or associated to the person who live
For the
there?
project. For just
That means
people
if
who
the
live there.
person move out from the project, they no longer have the voucher.
Is that true?
You want to answer, Chrissy? Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Chrissy Canganelli. I'm Executive Director of Shelter House. So the project is, the request for project-based vouchers is to assist households that meet HUD's definition of chronic homelessness. These are individuals that categorically must have a disability, most have multiple disabilities, and meet requirements regarding the length and episodes of homelessness. The past individuals that we've served, many have experienced unsheltered homelessness for decades on the streets of our community and are now retaining their housing, some of them for over 6 years now, well, 5 years now. The Iowa City Housing Authority Administrative Plan has content in it, policies that protect that voucher that is assigned as a project-based voucher to these projects. When individuals, if they choose to leave the project, it's called moving on. It's a HUD practice called moving on. And there is a caveat in the policy in the Iowa City Housing Authority Administrative Plan that protects and ensures that moving on capacity and protection for the tenants. If they choose to move out into the community, they can take that voucher and we will help them seek housing out in the community. It's very rare that people are moving on. Most die because of their complex health issues that they've experienced and developed over the years of living unsheltered in our community. But we have had a couple of people who have chosen to move on, and because they've established a good rental experience and relationship with us, rental history, they've worked on issues, they're better supported and better equipped to then move into the community and work with a private landlord to use that voucher. The Housing Authority then is able to replace that project-based voucher. I don't really understand the logistics of that, and reassign a project-based voucher to the permanent supported housing unit in our project. Does that answer the question?
Yes, and you're saying like if somebody moved out, still the voucher will remain, but the housing authority will assign them also another voucher to move
They
out
take
with.
that voucher with them.
But they replace the voucher for you because you have one unit without voucher.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And on the subject of income as well, these are individuals who have $0 in income.
And not only that, they are not have a renter history, or they're going to have like a lot of barriers to be rented even if they have voucher for somebody else.
That's right.
Am I correct?
Criminal history,
Yes.
no rental
Yes,
history.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to understand it, but this is congratulations again. And
Well, we don't have the.
I know, but at least you've been nominated, so we yes, hopefully you're gonna get it, and we get 36 more unit in town.
Yeah.
For the people, yeah.
Thank you. We'd be
Thank you.
really grateful for your support.
Yeah.
I don't know whether, if this is something that you guys can answer on the spot, but I am curious, how many people in our community have that voucher but can't find housing? I mean, is it in excess of the 36? I mean, at any time, do we have that many people who might have a voucher but can't find a renter?
It's a significant number.
It is many, but
It exceeds 36? Yeah.
I think we have an 86% utilization rate, so that means 14%.
14% of them can't find somebody to take that voucher. Okay.
And we keep extending it, so we allow as much time.
Mhm.
as they can. We can confirm that number with Rachel, and let you know.
Right, okay.
It could be in the statistics that you guys have us keep.
Okay.
Add that.
I'll
Okay.
also add that, well, there was a fire in an encampment about a year ago, and I think all 13 individuals that were impacted by that fire, there were a number of them that had vouchers, and none of them could use them. We'd done, I think, an average of over 15 rental applications for each individual. All were individuals, and all were denied. And the other thing that on this subject, just to bookend this, is that with the legislative change that happened at the state level, people who do have a voucher are now being faced with landlords saying, we'll accept the voucher, but first demonstrate to us that you have 300% in cash income that your rent is going to cost. So if somebody's looking for a one-bedroom apartment, let's just say it's $800, that landlord is saying to them that they have to demonstrate that they have $2,400 a month in cash, and then they would allow them to use the voucher.
Yeah.
And that's the reality.
What was the
that we're
point of
dealing with
voucher?
right
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's difficult.
I do want to acknowledge that the reason Chrissy can come up is because this is their item and not wait for public comment. I just want to be consistent.
Oh, sure.
And notify the public. That is the reason why she can come up at this time. Any other questions for staff or the shelter house?
No.
All right, we're going to move on to public discussion. If you're online, please raise your virtual hand. And anyone in the council chambers? Seeing no one, council discussion. I will say that we had a proclamation today that is National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. What a way to have this on our agenda. So, yeah.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Teague?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Moe?
Yes.
Salah?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. All right, we are on to item number 11, announcements of vacancies previous. 11A, we have Board of Adjustments, one vacancy to fill a 5-year term, January, and then Climate Action Commission, 3 vacancies to fill a 3-year term. Human Rights Commission, 1 vacancy to fill an unexpired term. Human Rights Commission's 2 vacancies to fill a 3-year term. Parks and Recreation Commission, 2 vacancies to fill 4-year terms. Public Art Advisory Committee at large, 1 vacancy to fill a 3-year term. Senior Center Commission, 2 vacancies to fill a 3-year term. Applications must be received by 5 p.m. Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. Airport Zoning Board of Adjustment, 1 vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Airport Zoning Commission, 1 vacancy to fill a 6-year term. Board of Appeals HVAC Professional, 1 vacancy to fill an unexpired term. Historic Preservation Commission, Jefferson Street, 1 vacancy to fill an to fill a 3-year term. Historic Preservation Commission Woodlawn Avenue, 1 vacancy to fill an unexpired term plus a 3-year term. Vacancies will remain open until filled. We are at item number 12, and this is an opportunity for council updates and information.
Just a reminder, of course, that tomorrow is Election Day. And we were talking about the auditor's office in a different conversation earlier, so I just want to give a shout out to the incredible work that they do there, and the people that come in, the election poll watchers and staffers. I mean, there's an incredible effort, and because of that, we have amazingly secure, safe, and accurate elections and election results that we can be proud of. And I'll give them an extra shout out because, as we know from national headlines, again, we have a fear of violence at polling places, and yet we still have people that are stepping up and willing to do the important, vital, absolutely necessary work of democracy. And I think everybody should honor that by making sure they go and vote and get their voice heard. So.
I love our drive-through voting. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yes.
So convenient.
Yes.
That won't be available tomorrow.
Yeah.
Go to your polling place
Yes.
tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. But in many states, even today, they don't have them. So like Friday or maybe the weekend was the last time for early voting. But now here we going far and beyond and doing it for Monday too.
I have been looking frantically for some updates, but I'm going to have to rely on my memory. The Better Together 2030 had their board meeting, and there's been some really good progress on all of their pillars. United Way actually specifically came out, and they have simplified and coordinated with different municipalities on their application. So we were talking about that in relationship to HCDC and direct aid agencies, but it's a nice sort of commitment from United Way that they are like, we want to make things as easy as possible so that the agencies who are doing the good work can focus on that rather than applying for things. And I know that their Excellence in Action Awards is coming up, but I am not remembering the date. Probably Jeff Fruin remembers it?
I don't. I'm sorry.
It's coming up. So anyway, I think it's after the 19th, so maybe I can do a plug for it then. Yeah, so anyway, but they continue to do amazing stuff and are incredibly active and supportive of doing good stuff in a collaborative way.
All right, we're going to move on to item number 13, reports from our city staff, city manager's office.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
City attorneys.
I would just echo Councilor Harmson's shout out to the county auditor's office. I was getting emails over the weekend. I mean, I could not have been asking the questions about filling Councilor Dunn's vacancy at a worse time for them.
I'm so sorry, Eric.
They have been responsive. I've heard from the county attorney's office, the assistant county attorney who's tasked with handling election matters. He is also very busy this time of year, and so I really appreciate their input.
Great, great. City clerk?
I have nothing.
All right. Item number 14, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Burgess and seconded by a lot of folks, but I'll give it to Alter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.